Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today we're talking about something that surprised me last summer, and honestly, it made me stop and think, not about getting into a kayak, but getting out of one. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle with over 2 million downloads and counting. This show is for women over 50 who are starting to feel time differently and want to stop coasting through life. Each episode is here to help you notice what's really going on, recognize the moments that matter, and start leading your next chapter more intentionally. I'm Susie Rosenstein, Master Certified Life Coach, Life Leadership Mentor, and Certified Zentangle Teacher, and I am so glad you're here. But just quick, before we dive in, I have an invitation for you. If you've been thinking about getting older yourself and you're not quite sure what you want in your next chapter, this will help. You're invited to take my free Next Chapter Midlife quiz to discover if your next chapter is trying to get your attention. You will understand what may be quietly holding you back, see what your next chapter is asking for, and get personalized insight in under 90 seconds. It's fast and it's fascinating. You can start the quiz here at www.midlifequiz.com. Okay, now let's dive in. So, my friend, here is what happened. I have loved kayaking for years. It's not like I'm crazy nuts for kayaking. I would never go on a kayak vacation, anything like that. But there's just something about being on the water. It is so peaceful, like you're right low to the water. I love that. It's quiet. It's just one of those things that feels really good in my life. And last summer, I was out kayaking like I've done many times before. Lugging the kayak down to the lake, not really a problem. Getting in, no problem, totally fine. But getting out, Houston, we have a problem. That was different this time. Let me tell you a bit about where I was and what was going on. It was a lovely weekend, and to my delight, my high school bestie Karen was visiting from out of town. It was a rare occasion. We'd been kayaking together at least one or two other times, and one of those times was in Florida. I do remember getting stuck in some mangroves, but I don't remember having too much trouble getting out of the kayak. And that was in honor of our 50th birthdays, so that was 12 years ago. I've even kayaked once in the ocean. That was in the Monterey Bay area of California. My biggest concern, though, was tipping with a non-waterproof camera. I wasn't worried about getting out. And there was even one time when I was kayaking with my family in Costa Rica in 2012. I don't recall any issues with exiting the kayak, though. There was some hilarity around splashing each other and stuff. We were in a group. It was quite funny. But yeah, I don't remember having any difficulty getting out. Now, most of my kayaking over the years has been in a freshwater lake, cottage-type situation. There's a dock usually, a concrete boat ramp, in this case, a concrete retaining wall too, and the water isn't too deep. Now, Karen and I were having a glorious little paddle. It was a little windy, but we got in, we got paddling, we checked out turtles, we practiced going really fast, and we had fun trying to take selfies, which, I'm not that good at that anyway. With wind and a kayak, trying to line ourselves up, it was pretty funny. But anyway, everything was fine until we paddled back. We got to the boat ramp. We positioned ourselves so we had something to balance on, either the retaining wall or our paddles or the dock. There were a few options there. But instead of experiencing the upward motion of our bodies rising to exit our little boats, all that changed was a heck of a lot of laughter as we realized this was not going to be easy. What the heck happened? I was never that graceful, but I could always do it without help. The first attempt went nowhere fast. All that happened was that one of my sons and his friend came down to begin the rescue. I guess they sensed that we would need some help because we were really laughing. Mind you, we were only in 1 or 2 feet of water that was near the boat ramp. My kayak was actually on the concrete, but somehow the fear of tipping, even in this situation, loomed large. It's not like we were in open water, nothing like that. Lots more laughing. I don't think either of us peed our pants or peed our bathing suits, so to speak, but it was close. And I remember trying to get out, trying so hard to get out, remembering what I learned in my kayak course so long ago about where to put the paddle and whatever to help it, to let it help you. Anyway, all I could think was, wait, what's happening here? What is going on? It wasn't smooth, it wasn't graceful, and it wasn't easy or successful. I just couldn't do it. Was it me, the conditions, my hip, my knee, my upper body strength, my weight? I don't know. And then it even got a little more real because I actually had to ask for help. And you're thinking, Susie, why didn't you just lean a little bit? You would have tipped and that would have been that. Well, I think I was worried about the concrete. We were around concrete at that point. Anyway, I had to ask for help. And the person I had to ask for help, my son and his friend. And I just met this friend. A lot of times there are friends there I've known since they were babies, but not this friend. This friend was brand new. Anyway, the friend helped my friend Karen, and my son helped me. So we had, both of us needed some help to get out of the kayaks. We had two handsome young men helping us. I'll never forget witnessing my friend getting a helpful hand from my son's friend and being escorted out of the kayak to safety. I was still laughing, and I was a bit confused, I have to say. The complete reality of this situation hadn't yet set in. I just wanted to get out of there. Then more feelings. This was starting to feel a little embarrassing, awkward, and quite frankly, a little sad. Seriously, what was happening? Are my kayaking days over at this age? Is this part of being older? Not older and wiser, just older? It was weird, and it was happening, and it was weird to be thinking about it. Now, you may recall one of the frameworks that I teach is called the FUN framework. Let's play with that to understand this a little better. F in FUN stands for find your thoughts. So when you take my kayak situation, all these questions I was asking myself, this is where it all got interesting because yes, it was clearly a physical issue I was having, but it was also mental. I couldn't help but notice my thoughts right away. Things like, I wonder if this is what happens now. Maybe 62 is too old for this. I hate that I'm wondering if this is the beginning of stopping things I love. Now, I have to be honest, I didn't spiral, but I did notice. And that matters. I also remembered that I wondered about something like this a couple of other times in my life too. I wondered about downhill skiing. It was never my favorite thing to do, but it crossed my mind. Maybe I was pushing it at this point. I mean, I don't love skiing. What would falling mean with osteoporosis, right? What would falling mean? What would breaking a bone mean at this point in my life? That sort of thing. And when I went whale watching in Baja for the second time, the first time was 30 years before that, this time was for my 60th birthday, a thought crossed my mind. I knew I wanted to go one more time in my life, and I started to wonder when. When should I go? Right away, I thought, oh, my 70th birthday would be a good idea. But then I remembered you have to get in the boat, like a 20-foot fishing type boat, from the surf, not a dock. And it's a bit tricky, especially for someone my size of only 4'10", and who knows how much I'll shrink by then. Now you have to climb over the side of the boat that's being hit and affected by waves. It's not like you walk over to the boat all poised and looking relaxed off of a dock. It's not like that at all. And I wondered if going at 65 was a safer bet for me being able to hoist myself over the side of the boat. Again, just noticing, and it's related to physical stuff. Anyway, back to the kayak. This seemed to be setting itself up for one of those small moments that, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it actually is because there's a fork in the road here. And if you're a regular listener, you may remember that I do love a good fork in the road. Here's what I mean. You could think from an autopilot kind of place, something like, well, I guess kayaking is over. No drama, no big decision, but there's a physical block somehow, and one option is to not question it too much. Just kind of like, if X, then Y, without much curiosity. I guess you could think of it as like quietly backing away. Just quietly, it's just sinking in and then it's just not happening. Or you could think about it from a kind of life leadership kind of place. This is where the you part of the FUN framework kicks in. And this is where you want to understand your desire. So mine was, well, I'm not really ready to say goodbye to kayaking just yet. So you pause and you get curious. And that's what I did. I didn't make it mean something huge. That's it. No more kayaking for me. But I also didn't ignore it. I thought, this is interesting. Is this actually a problem I can solve? I knew I couldn't be the only midlife gal struggling with getting out of a kayak. Seriously, I wonder what people do. Now, if you're listening right now and you have no trouble getting out of a kayak, I am so happy for you. Please don't judge. So I did what we all do. I Googled it. And guess what? This is a thing. A real thing. There are tons of people who stop kayaking. And it's not because they don't love it anymore. It's because it's just too hard to get out. Now, my husband and I love to go to the cottage show every year with all the cottage-related vendors. And that's what we heard over and over again when I was talking to all the kayak people. And I also thought, even though I'm going to be embarrassed because I'm going to have to explain all of this, all this stuff that's going on, I'm going to do it anyway. And I have to say, it wasn't like that at all. The kayak experts, the people selling kayaks, knew exactly what I was talking about because, as I figured, I'm not alone, and this is a thing. This is the beginning of the N part of the fun framework, nurturing your commitment to yourself. And this is what I really want you to hear. This is how it happens. Sometimes things really do get harder as we age. Not all the time, not for all the people at the same time, not for people at the same age either. And sometimes it's not a scary thing or an embarrassing mishap that causes it. It's not always that obvious. Like if you would have asked me, gee, this is the summer, you're not going to be able to get out of the kayak, I would have never imagined that. And I'm not even exactly sure what the issue was, but I couldn't get out. Now, I think what happens more times than not is that there are small moments when something might get a little harder, day-to-day things too. And instead of questioning them, you just may back off or start doing less without really thinking about it. I've started to notice this happening on occasion with unscrewing kitchen jars, actually. Sometimes I just can't do it, even with a multitude of jar opening gadgets that we've collected over the years. So many. Sometimes it even hurts my hand as I'm trying to do it. And sometimes, at least with the recent tomato sauce jar causing a problem, I just changed my dinner plans until I could ask for help and get that jar opened. So I completely changed the plans because I just couldn't I couldn't deal with the jar. So anyway, I had to decide, was the getting out of the kayak thing going to be the reason I stopped kayaking? Or was I going to keep kayaking and just figure this part out? And it was all based on, what do I want? Do I actually want to stop kayaking? The answer was no. That means I had to figure something else out. Now, I have to say, it was pretty fun to watch myself think about all of this. It wasn't immediate. I didn't think I fully appreciated the whole situation at the beginning, that weekend when it happened. And then a few months ago, I remember seeing some kind of a stabilizing kayak launch thing. And I got curious about that. I couldn't remember what it was called. I knew I did see it at a cottage show another year and dismissed it because I didn't need anything like that. Anyway, and then a few months after that, I found myself thinking maybe I have the wrong kayak. Eureka, a breakthrough. Maybe it's not the launch of the kayak I have. Maybe it's the wrong kayak. I wondered, can I still get the chair back type of cushion for comfort if I get a kayak that is not like a normal kayak? It's not the kind of kayak that I'd looked at and had for all these years. Now, this makes a big difference, this chair back thingy. I don't know about you, but I need comfort like that. And it's made all the difference in the kayak to have a nice chair back. It makes a huge difference for me. I think I need that. And I don't see that on those flat sit on top options. You can see curiosity is a huge part of this process. Now, the cottage show came up again, and I was ready to figure out the problem. Like I was all set and ready. I went in saying, okay, hubby, this is what we're going to do. We're going to check out the kayak places. We're going to really figure this out. My clarity was that I wanted more ease getting out of the kayak. I was clear. And once I was clear, I looked for solutions. I was open to solutions, and there are solutions. As I mentioned, I don't know the proper names for these options, but I saw solutions that were all over the place. There were stabilizing launch support options, some that attach to a dock, some that don't. There are different types of kayaks, including fishing kayaks, and there are different price points for all of this stuff. And there are plenty of knowledgeable people at a show like this that you can get all your questions answered and you can talk, gab, and really figure out what's going on. Before too long, it was pretty clear which one was the best option for me. So I made the purchase. I bought a kayak that doesn't tip, or at least it has more difficulty tipping. And it has a more open, stable design and has the chair back support thingy too. And just like that, problem solved, or at least I hope it is. We'll find out soon enough. Time will tell. I feel good about it though. I could really see that I didn't want to give up kayaking just yet. Even on summers when I don't do a lot of it, it's something I like to know I can do. I mean, really, it's the only boat that I can manage from start to finish. I can lift it, I can carry it, I can drag it, I can plop it in the water. There's basically no setup and I don't need help, at least for everything other than getting out. And let's hope that problem is solved now too. But here's the thing, there's a bigger insight right here. This isn't only about kayaking, not really. This is all about what you do when something in your life gets a little harder. Because it's so easy to think things like, I guess I don't do that anymore. I guess that phase is over. I guess this is just what happens at this age. You know what? I'm just thinking that I heard somebody in the last few months say, this is the last puppy we're ever going to have. This is the last puppy we're ever going to have. So maybe that's come up with you, with your dogs, if you're a dog person or any kind of pet. You know, getting a young pet at different points in your life, it can feel different. So that's what I mean. It's not just about the kayak. It's about aging, what it means to you, physical limitations or changes, and your mindset about all of it. So these thoughts, I guess this phase is over. I guess this is just what happens at this age. Those are thoughts. And what you may not realize is that those kinds of thoughts can really be like unintentional decisions. So when you're curious and check in with how much you believe what you're thinking or want what you're thinking, you may also realize that there are options you haven't explored yet. So just because you think it doesn't make it so. And I think this is what life leadership looks like. It's not always about a giant decision or a huge move. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be, like I said, it doesn't have to be like a massive thing. It's in these small, real decisions. That's what it's all about. It's noticing your thoughts instead of believing them automatically. It's getting clear about what you actually want. And it's being willing to adjust so your life keeps working for you. Honestly, there's also something else here. I still get to kayak. That's not nothing. There are some people who don't get to kayak or they don't get to do something that they've decided that they like doing. That is something to appreciate and have gratitude for. And when you get right down to it, this is how we regret-proof our lives. I know you hear me say that all the time. This is it. It's not always bucket list fun or a big sweeping change or an expensive vacation. It's often about small but very intentional decisions. So here's something to think about. Where in your life have you unintentionally stopped something without thinking about how much you really wanted to, but you stopped because it got a little harder? And more importantly, is there a way to adjust instead of just walking away? Are there other options? What would happen if you created the space to think and you allowed your ideas to come forward? What might happen if you noticed more about what you actually wanted? Right now, notice what popped into your mind, just as I was talking about a little bit. What popped into your mind? And give that observation the time of day. You deserve that. And if this resonated with you, if you're starting to notice places where you might be coasting or defaulting or quietly shrinking your life without realizing it, this is exactly the kind of thing we look at together. You can book a free Next Chapter Clarity session always at www.talktosuzy.com. And that's Suzy spelled with an S-U-Z-Y, www.talktosuzy.com. We'll take a look at what's really going on and help you get clear about what you actually want. All right, my friend, that's what I've got for you today. As always, thanks so much for listening to the Women in the Middle show. Please remember to share it with your friends and other midlife gals that you know would get a lot out of it. If you're open to leaving a review, That would be awesome too. Being the queen of your brain domain is the best way to be. It is time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the happiness, excitement, joy, and fulfillment that you crave. Remember, if you need coaching support for the changes you're excited to make, I am here for you, and I offer group and private coaching. For show notes and links, go to www.susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast tab and look for episode 456. And you'll also see the link there for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.